Look.
We're live. Look.
Hi, good morning.
We're on air. We can talk about that. We can talk about it now if you want to. I'm sure everybody logging on wants to hear all about that, but yeah.
Oh, I was just telling him that we've got this really phenomenal newsletter going out, and I've been working on it, and it's magazine style. So it's a flip through magazine. And I just finished our word search. I put a word search in. I thought that was exciting. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Spirituality Gone Wild, the stream of David. This is David Strickle. This way. I'm Debbie G. This way. David, hit the little doodaddy there and make us normal again if you want. You don't have to. Hi.
I was going to say make us normal. I don't know about that.
Yeah, there is no normal.
Yeah.
So welcome everybody. We are going to have an exciting hour here with the stream of David. David is going to be channeling. I'll be answering or ask. I won't be talking.
Maybe the stream will ask you questions and you can provide wisdom for them.
I'm just going to be really happy to sit here and ask questions.
Your hair is rocking, I have to tell you. I thought my beard was rocking. I trimmed it this week, and it's not as crazy as it was. But your hair is just kicking my beard's ass. It looks so good.
Thank you. I love you very much. That's very sweet. I took a shower.
It's not. It's like.
I washed it.
Binder. Oh, okay. Obviously, I'm not an expert on hair, but it looks really good.
I washed it, and I've been behind the computer for what feels like a century right now at this moment, and it's nuts. And so I'm really just. Can I tell you how I'm just thrilled right now, David, to be sitting here? How's your week been? What's been going on?
Busy, good. Lots of interviews, lots of podcasts, lots of cool new stuff from the stream. Had a really good episode. What is today? Wednesday? Yesterday on LOA Today. We wrote this. We finished the Taya Practice book, the unedited, first version of the Taya Practice book. That took 2.5 years to write. We finished it, and then I was guided to go back and add this whole other section.
Yeah.
And the whole other section is on vibrational flow, which is very important, of course. Vibrational flow is everything. So we're talking about that all the time lately. And one of the chapters of that section was the working title was "You Are All Robots." Well, we are technology. We don't understand it as that. We think we're organic beings, but our organic being is a type of technology. So it really does go into that, and it doesn't sound as sci-fi as "You Are All Robots" in the chapter. If it's even chapter 7, won't be called that when the book is done. But right now, that's kind of where we are. So all of this really cool new information, this really great new clarity came from the stream in that chapter. And I sign on as a guest appearance on LOA Today with Walt. You know Walt.
Yep.
And Walt says he has all these questions for the stream. He's not going to take any audience questions. It was going to be all his questions for the stream. And I'm always just down for whatever. You know me, I just show up and just do something that's. So I said, cool. And so we brought the stream in, and the interaction ended up being this incredible thing because all of his questions aligned perfectly with that chapter. It was like the stream guided him to ask the questions to cover the things they wanted to cover.
Really?
It was very cool. So everybody go, not right now, spend an hour here with us, then earmark another hour to go to LOA Today. It's a podcast and it's on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. It's called LOA Today, and you can watch it as soon as an hour from now. After this live broadcast, you can go check it out because it's really cool information from the stream about our purpose, how we're here, why we're here, a lot of clarity on the fact that we are absolutely creating our own reality in every single sense of the word. And I think coming to an understanding of how we are expressions of source perceiving in physical.
Yep.
Really, 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 really help us understand how we're creating our reality, how all of our contrast is serving our expansion. Therefore, we can actually come to appreciate all of it, and how we can be much more intentional in our creation of our reality moving forward.
I love that. In fact, David, you always reminded, I remember the first time I met you, when I listened to some of the stream, and I was thinking how much you reminded me of Joseph Benner from 1916, a book called The Impersonal Life. And you had never even heard of it. I doubt very seriously you even know what I'm talking about now, because he never does. He
I
doesn't
don't
know
know
anything.
anybody. I don't know anybody or anything. No, I just kind of
No.
listen to the stream.
So the concept is exactly that, is we are all expressions of source experiencing this reality, as well as to even say, I think the extreme part, and we can ask the stream about this and see what you guys think on this one, that we literally aren't even making any of our decisions. Like, it's all source. And we're so attached to it being mine, I, me, that in actuality, it's none of that. It's really just source.
Well, we are source, and that's the
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Is we are expressions of source, and by expressions, that means we are source playing out in a physical reality of contrast.
Yeah.
And our ego stepping in and encountering what we consider unwanted or negative things creates the expansion of source. So source is more or less consciousness, thought.
Mm-hmm.
We are expressions of that consciousness, and the contrast that we encounter that our egos tell us we don't want, which is the ego consciousness, right? The human being, that creates the expansion that source is desiring, if you will. That's the expansion, not really desiring so much as just it's the nature of source to be expansive. So that higher level understanding of why we want to flow with vibrational flow, which means when things are up and going well and we are enjoying life and appreciating all that is, that's a good thing. We're one with source. That is our sourceness, if you will. And then when our vibration dips and we become separated from that a bit, and our little fear mechanism kicks in, our ego takes over, and fear and judgment rear, then we are creating contrast. And that contrast actually serves the purpose of new creation. We create things to solve. We create problems. We create disagreements. Obviously, we're really good at that in this planet. So we do. And
we're really good at it.
Yeah, but all of that stuff is there to serve expansion. So it's cool. And when we start looking at it like that, then suddenly, life is not bad. Like the earth is not broken. We're not damaged. Humanity's not going to hell in a handbasket.
It's
hell
not.
In a handbasket. You've ever heard that? Actually, I saw a drag queen once. Her name was Hell in a Handbasket.
Well, a drag queen being named Hell in a Handbasket, actually.
Love that. Hell in a Handbasket.
Hi, Hell in a Handbasket. How are you? I'm just like,
we're here for channeling and to talk about drag queens.
Oh, well, you know what? They're all actually, I think we should just do like a whole channeling drag queen freaking.
I would do a whole panel of drag queens.
In a
I
second.
have no problem with that whatsoever.
Would that not be more fun then? In fact, I'm wondering if we can find a couple of drag queens for our New Year's Eve Spirituality Gone Wild extravaganza that's coming. By the way, David, we're doing a Spirituality Gone Wild New Year's Eve party, just so you know. Yeah.
Well, it's not like anybody's going anywhere else, so they might as well come here, right?
May as well come here. And now I'm thinking we need drag queens. What do y'all think? I think, anyway, that's my personal belief.
Just say yes to drag queens.
just say yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are going to be asking questions, guys. I'm just going to like a huge gratitude moment and say thank you, because I get to be here today and be the one to ask the stream these questions. And I can promise you all, listen, here's a big secret, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now, David. Just being here, being exposed to the energy and allowing yourself to go into the flow will raise your vibration. Just experience it, watch and see. If you are not in a better space from when you started, and if you're in a really great space and starting from there, watch it elevate even further. So I just want everybody to start to pay attention to where you're at right now and to where you're at when we're done. It's always a treat.
Indeed.
That
was so perfectly said. There's nothing I can add to that. If I have nothing to add, it was perfect, right?
Well, yeah.
So who is this? I'm sorry, the person that's on the cover of your magazine coming up. Do you want to talk about that?
Not yet, because it's a surprise.
All right, we won't talk about that. But it was this person that I didn't know that I guess I was supposed to know. Debbie's
You're
always
killing me.
amused that I don't know these people that.
I just find it funny. I just think it's hilarious because it's like, well, you know what? Actually, I think with everything that's been happening, there's been a huge shift of hierarchy in the world of no matter what. You see regular everyday people that are in Hollywood that we used to see Hollywood, sorry, that we used to see up on the big screen, and now they're doing Zooms like this. They've turned into everyday people, and every people that have been recognized up in these giant pillars of are now just regular everyday people. It's funny how things like a worldwide pandemic is going to be enough to knock everyone off their pedestal. So hello and welcome to our common area.
The pandemic is a very fascinating time, and the stream has talked about that a lot lately. And they talked about, in fact, in that Walt video that I want you all to go watch after this interaction, or ASAP, they talked about how our creation of technology and our manifestation of the pandemic are actually us marching back toward our natural state of connectivity, meaning that as human beings, we separated from collective consciousness, non-physical, somewhat, not completely, but somewhat. And our interactions were physical interactions. We had to be in the same space as other people. Then we figured out how to travel. We invented transportation, and we learned how to cross oceans and travel the world. And then we created technology that allows us to communicate like this globally. And of course, this global communication has created this ascension that we talk about. And the ascension is aligning with the quickening of energy. And the quickening of energy is very much what all of this astrology and solstice and all of this stuff is there's no accident that all of these things are happening simultaneously. And our creating a scenario where we are more or less forced, if not guided, to be more virtual in our lives is returning us to our natural state of being able to communicate without having to be in physical, which is causing the collective consciousness to ascend to a higher level of consciousness, if you will, as human beings. And we will move through a period. And it's interesting because the stream does not very often talk about, oh, this is what's going to happen in the future. But the path that we're on, there is a trajectory that we are creating for ourselves that's placing us in the path of no longer needing the technology to communicate as a collective consciousness, but still be in physical, meaning telepathic communication is what's next. We don't know when, but that's where humanity is heading, because we already communicate that way as it is, just not on a conscious level. And so moving through this evolution of technology and utilizing the pandemic to go more inward, but in going inward, actually having more of a like-minded collective consciousness. Because right now, for a lot of us, it's our only option is to be in rooms like this and situations like this, and to spend New Year's Eve with Debbie G and Spirituality Gone Wild. That's the option that we've created for ourselves. So we've narrowed down the choices to a more virtual reality. So virtual reality is sort of just a rest area on the way toward a collective consciousness state of being where we're not needing to communicate with human created tools anymore. We're sort of going back to our eternal technology, which we call organic. And so going back to the chapter of the book, You Are All Robots, that's what they're talking about, is that our physical bodies and planet Earth and everything else here is eternal technology. It is technology. We just don't see it like that. We think it's organic. It's just more advanced technology than nuts and bolts, what we create at this time.
Well, they've been studying this over with NASA and whatnot for forever, for decades, and we do know that it's true. I mean, come on, look, we're talking about the 100th monkey theory again. Very simply, that's what that is. The 100th monkey theory. If anybody's curious, after this and after that you watch LOA, then go look up the 100th monkey theory. You'll see that this is something that was done in 1956 with scientists, and to let people message me, even when I tell, it's so funny when I tell them I'm live and they're still doing it, and then I get squirreled. Okay, so you guys go look it up. it's a really good, I think probably one of the best proofs of the fact that it's telepathy. When animals are doing it before we are, something's up.
Yeah, well,
Like
they
I
don't
said.
have all the human fear and judgment stuff. Their fear is more instinctual, and our fear is very often our own creation of, teachings and things like that. So the interesting thing about this fact that I am not into a lot of spiritual stuff
Uh-huh.
is I think it's interesting because I've been on my own personal spiritual journey my entire life with
Right.
this thing that I used to call my knowing that we all now refer to as the stream. And the only spiritual teacher I've ever really paid attention to was Abraham. And that was for a period of time and hasn't been for a few years, just because I want the stream to be the stream and allow Abraham certainly just to be Abraham, because Abraham's fantastic. And the interesting thing is that all of this unfolding and realization and teaching is so in alignment with so many other things, because universal law is universal law. But the tools that we create around it are our now tools
Right.
that are up to speed with our now. Because we think of ancient wisdom. Well, ancient wisdom in the in the context of universal law, of course, universal law is universal law. It doesn't change. But humanity's adaptation or utilization of it, or alignment with it, if you will, that's evolution. And we need things that are up to speed with now, not necessarily what worked, 2 decades ago or hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. We need things that work in our current world, our current society. We're ever evolving. We evolve very fast. Look at how quickly our society evolves. Look how much life. You and I are the same age, and in the decades that we've been alive, and there's been a few, look how much society has evolved. I'm
It's
watching
crazy.
The Crown right now. The Crown is, I'm at the point in The Crown where it's around the time that I was born. And looking back at how life was in the late 1960s, I just outed our age. Everybody knows how old I am. All you have to do is Google it. So in the late 1960s, the world was a very different place than it is now. We've evolved significantly.
Yeah.
In technology and just our culture and everything has evolved a lot since then, more so than our bodies. Our physical bodies absolutely evolve, but our culture evolves a lot faster.
It really does. And I was listening to, sometimes I go through these. Do you ever go through waves with music where you like one minute you're into one thing and then you're into another? Way out. It's been the 70s. Like the stuff you'd listen to way back when your parents were like cruising down the street, I love that. And when I was thinking about that, it's like car windows did not even have automatic yet. You're still cranking them. Okay. Back in the day, you guys, David, do you remember when, like, I remember my parents got a Thunderbird, and the Thunderbird was the first car that I had ever seen that had automatic windows. And I was like, oh, and I was, nee, 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 and it even made that sound. You guys remember that?
What color was your Thunderbird?
Blue.
So this is interesting that you bring this up. You probably heard me tell this story before about my first recollection of the stream, what we now call the stream. I was 5, maybe 6 years old, and this friend of my parents, you've heard this story, the friend of my parents came by and she had a Lincoln. It would have been a Mark IV around that time, and it was all silver, which was the sister car of the Thunderbird.
Okay.
It was like a Thunderbird, but it was a Lincoln. And I remember looking in the window at this fancy car. It was shiny, lots of chrome, and I saw all the buttons on the little armrest of the driver's door. I don't even know, you didn't even know at the time that any of that existed. My parents had a Ford Maverick and a Beetle, roll down everything, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember seeing all those buttons and the sunroof. I'd never seen a sunroof before. My fascination with cars was born looking at that car. And my first recollection of the stream was really then, because that's when the woman drove away, and I don't remember who she was to my parents. They knew her somehow. She came by to show off her new car. And as she drove away, I remember my parents saying things like, what did she do to get that? And we'll never have anything like that. And I remember like being impressed with the car, and there was something said to me along the lines of, you'll never have anything like that. And I remember at 5 or 6 thinking, That's crazy. You can have anything that you want to have. What are you talking about? The world doesn't work like that. You can have that if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's my first recollection of something that was, very stream-like coming to me at that age. So it's interesting that you tell the Thunderbird story because they're essentially the same car. They were the same car with a different label on it. So yeah, all those buttons. So automatic windows. When I was a child, cars didn't have that. Yeah, you had to roll the window down.
Now you can talk. Now you can talk to it, and it does what you want. It's just bizarre.
Very much so.
It's great. You guys, that's the point of technology, things going by very quickly, things happening very quickly. David, we have been around long enough, and thank you very much, Luke, for saying that we look fabulous, because I love that. But that's the fact is we've been around long enough to see huge shifts in technology and internet. There was no such thing as internet. You guys, cell phones were still dialing. They were
connected to the wall and they were wired to your house. I remember before cordless phones. I remember when a cordless phone in your house was a big deal.
Oh, that was huge.
I'm walking down the kitchen and I have a phone in my hand. It had an antenna, like a
right. Yeah. Night at the Roxbury. If you guys ever see that, like Lonnie Anderson walking around with one of those phones.
With the antenna up?
Those they were old like AT&T. Lord, David, we've been around.
One of my friends had a cell phone early on, and it was like a brick. It was huge, like a brick, and it weighed a ton. And it was like, it took 20 minutes to make a call. And we thought it was so cool. It was so cool. But yeah, things have changed a lot. Now we get upset if we can't, go anywhere on the web in 2 seconds on our phone. Where this is the worst thing ever, right? So we are going to bring the stream in. So now that you're all signed on and you're all saying hello, and we do see all of that. So thank you all for your comments. I see Romania. Peace and blessings, Romania. Denise and Luke. Hi, Luke. Good to see you on here. And let's see who else. Morgan, Lucian, Samuel, and lots of Facebook users. So if you don't register on here, you just show up on our end as a Facebook user. So we see your comments. We just don't see your name or your picture. You have to I think you have to connect something with StreamYard to be recognized on here because it's not really Facebook. It's connected to Facebook. And you have to allow that. You have to authorize that. But anyway, whether you're connected or not, you can ask your questions for the stream. You can type in and ask anything that you want. There's never anything off limits with the stream. We don't have a specific topic coming in. So sometimes these are the coolest interactions because whatever flows is what flows. The only limitation with the stream, as always, is my intellect and vocabulary. So I need to be able to understand your question to get an answer for it. And the way we bring the stream in is, do you have questions for the stream, Debbie? I think you have a question for the stream.
I don't.
I think there's something floating around. I feel it.
I've always got questions. Well, actually, I did. I was thinking of a question just a little bit ago. Now I have to remember what that was because now I just read the question
for them.
I will. And I was just looking at the question up here that we have that's for the stream. And so my mind's not on the one that I had. If it comes back to me, then I'll definitely. I did. I had one. I can feel it.
There you go. All right. Well, type your questions in for the stream. And now what we're going to do, if you haven't watched this show before, we do a little meditation. We do a little group meditation. So you're going to have a little quiet time, which is good because we're going to take this quiet moment to allow our collective vibration to rise. And we're going to set an intention to have a fantastic interaction with the stream. And somebody asked about December 21st. There's a lot of talk about December 21st. And the stream has a very interesting take on polarity, which is really the root of all of these things that are happening with planetary alignment and things like that. All have to do with polarity. So we'll see what they have to say about that. I will say that I am doing a special radio show on December 21st. I think with Debbie. Are you on the show with me? I think you are. A special solstice radio show. I think you are.
I am.
We're both so bad at keeping up with all the stuff that we have to do. I think you're on with me on December 21st. Anyway, it's Monday, December 21st. I think Debbie is on. We're going to do a special radio show. And then I am working out with C. Megan Michael to broadcast on that date as well. We're working on a time. We might actually be in Spirituality Gone Wild on that date as well as other places. So I'll work that out with you. And I definitely will be broadcasting into her groups, as well as the Stream of David page, the Taya practice page, and the Stream of David YouTube channel.
Yep.
All the places that you're watching us right now will probably have that show available on. And C. Megan Michael will be with the stream, and it will be all about 2021. What's happening for 2021. So watch that, and that will be on the 21st. So, all right. So I am going to do a little meditation. Let's set a collective intention to get everything that we want, everything that we need from the stream. And when we return, they will just dive into answering your questions. We're here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Such a delight, gratitude moment to be here. So to jump right into the questions. First one is, I've been very fascinated by very young children remembering their past lives in great detail. Please clarify why this is happening.
The idea of past lives is a bit misunderstood across humanity, in that you tend to think of your lives in earthly linear time, and that you have this life experience that is human, and you project in as an independent strand of consciousness, and you move through this linear time as that independent strand of consciousness expressing as a human being. And that lifetime ends, and you return to non-physical, and then you drop back into yet another lifetime, and another lifetime, and another lifetime. And we very often will communicate in those terms because they're very familiar with you. There is nothing wrong with any of your belief systems. But the vibration of this question is calling for us to be a bit more specific, in that you are all eternal consciousness. You are all source. You are all expressing yourselves as independent strands of consciousness, certainly. And you are connected to all that is at all times. Though your human consciousness, your ego consciousness, serves you in that it develops within you, and at a very early age, and begins to encounter contrast due to the ego portion of the consciousness. The contrast is your own creation, as all things are, but the contrast is truly created by vibrational flow. This up and down from what you would call high to low vibration that you all flow through all the time. You're all very aware of it. And this vibrational flow causes you, in experiencing your contrast, to separate yourselves from that eternal wisdom. And that eternal wisdom separation serves to deliver a unique human physical experience, in this case, for you. And in your experiencing physical, meaning you're experiencing the positive things that you prefer, and the things that you do not prefer, the negative things, the obstacles, if you will. Those encounters create the contrast that drives your expansion in the overcoming of them in one way or another. So your intention was to come and forget all that you know eternally, to have a unique human experience. But in that human experience, your paths back to more recollection of is absolutely a possibility. But that possibility is up to free will, to your choice of what you do next and how you respond to your contrast. So when you are interacting with a young child who has not yet absorbed all of the fear-based teachings, all of the separation from source, if you will, there is a great recollection of many things that are beyond that child's very short lifetime in earthly years. And that connection can manifest itself in the realization of things that are very human-like. Notice that very often these young children are not speaking of things that are well beyond human comprehension. They're very often speaking of human-like lifetimes that are within your recorded history. The things that would be present in the collective consciousness of physical beings that they are surrounded by, perhaps. That very often has a great impact on this knowing. The child's knowing is absolutely authentic, but they are tuning into an earthly vibration that is more present in their now and delivering information about that earthly vibration. And will say, I was this, and be very specific and very detailed about it, because their consciousness was that. But that is not something that is actually happening in another time, because there is no other time. Your present is all that is. Everything that has occurred up until your present and everything that's going to occur in your future is occurring simultaneously, but you are experiencing it, you are perceiving it in linear time. But the moment that you are in right now, and every moment that you have encountered throughout your lifetime is simultaneous. And the only value that knowledge holds for you as physically manifested, in this case, human beings, is that the vibrations of those other times are still present. So when a child has this recollection, they have to learn to communicate that in such a way that they are speaking of what they are experiencing using the tools that they have already acquired from those around them. And certainly children who are being brought up in a household that is perhaps a bit more free thinking, that they're not shut down in this thought and this sharing, that the parents or the people that are around them are allowing them to express and share without fear. And you are seeing more and more of that now, because you have a whole generation of parents who are born up to speed with a time when things like this weren't as feared. But there was a time when anything of that nature would have been labeled demonic, and the child would have been shut down immediately and perhaps taken to a church to be looked after and things of that nature. But you have moved through that period in your society where you no longer need that, and you no longer think that way. And now when a child says something like that, perhaps you are not so frightened by it. Perhaps you find it interesting and want to ask more and get more information. So the more open you all are to it, the more you're going to elicit from the children or from whomever you're encountering, because the fear is not present that is shutting that vibration down.
I've experienced that stream with my granddaughter, who, when she was like 3.5 and 4, insisting she had brothers and sisters and was very clear on their names, and so we could call that overactive imagination, or it might be very possible that she was doing exactly as you described. So I thank you very much. Let us know.
It is a fear-based belief system where that overactive imagination has to be used as a label, as you were well aware, because the adult encountering it doesn't want to have to sort through where that's coming from, because it's challenging their entire belief system. So that label is slapped on as a shutdown. And the child's imagination is not powerful enough to tie a shoe at that point, yet they're conjuring names and dates and places and all of these things. And you are all proving to yourselves in your openness of the realness of this information.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Wonderful. Was that exciting just now, you guys? I'm excited about that. All right, so on to the next question. When someone's loved one transitions and through psychic mediums are able to connect, and they say they will always be around, will they not be choosing to come back? Who gets to choose who comes back, who doesn't come back? Do they really all just sit around and wait for us to chatter and say, hey, what's up?
You are not your loved ones who cease to express themselves in physical, who cross over, who die, however you want to label it. Their energy is to you is as much your creation as it is or was theirs. And the psychic medium that is reading and telling you aspects of your passed on loved ones that are very real, they are reading your energy first. That vibration is present in you. This is why you do not go to a psychic medium and ask about your grandmother, whom you loved very much, who has crossed over, and hear about your grandmother's other lifetimes. You're going to hear about the lifetime that is relevant to you, because that energy is part of you. You are being read in that moment, but the vibration of your grandmother as you experienced her is not some fake creation that is just being read in your memory bank. That vibrational connection is very real. So that vibration, as you know it, is as much a part of you as it is a part of her and what you would consider her now state, though she is an eternal being. Her being has been so many expressions and physical that no human can begin to comprehend that. This is why whenever you are being read by a medium and they are sharing information about those that have crossed over, the information is real. It's as real as you allow it to be. But it is always in relation to you and your vibration. And that is of the highest service to you. So in that case, the medium is doing the thing for you that you are seeking out in that connection to your passed on loved one. And they are facilitating that for you and serving you at the highest level that they are able to.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Please let us know how that this is resonating, you guys, and continue to ask your questions. So Lucian says, I had asked the stream a question weeks ago about how to talk to an inner intelligence. If they would expand on their previous answer, if it can be recalled.
The question is always about the inner knowing is your source connection that is always present. We speak of this quite frequently when David is sharing our message. So the connection to the inner knowing, the higher self, the source connection, the God connection, the eternal consciousness connection is all the same thing. Beyond physical is consciousness. And consciousness is not expressed independently the way you are perceiving your physical independent nature. That the independent nature of consciousness, this expression that we speak of, is a physical quality. In non-physical, consciousness is collective always. This is why your consciousness at your core is collective. The only separation is of ego. So when you are connected to something that is beyond physical, and you all are, you are connected to the collective consciousness that is source, that you are all part of. And it is not this, who are we speaking to? What planet are you on? Or are you this type of consciousness? Or are you that type of consciousness? That is human thinking. And it is certainly understandable that you would think like human beings because you are human beings. And getting beyond the singular expression and the linear timeline of planet Earth, you are all moving collectively to a place where you are ready to begin understanding that this physical environment that you are all in is your consciousness creation, your independent consciousness creation, because you are independent strands of consciousness expressing yourselves in physical. But as that, you are also the collective consciousness of humanity. You are the collective consciousness of what you call planet Earth, and you are the collective consciousness of source, of all that is. And in this experience that you are all perceiving, and it's important that you understand that as real as it feels, it is a perception. And again, the only value that has for you is understanding the creative power that you truly hold over whatever you're experiencing. The experience is your creation. The expression that you are experiencing is your creation. Changing that expression is very much tied to polarity in your habit of thought. This is why, even though this is a perception, you cannot suddenly flip a switch and turn into a completely different being. We are not saying that that is not possible, that there are not realities where that's absolutely possible. But humanity, the collective consciousness of humanity, has not evolved to that level of sophistication at this point of perception. The point of perception that you are in, however, is what many of you would label, and we would certainly agree, a very exciting time for humanity. Because you are moving to a more virtual reality. And your virtual reality is more akin to your eternal reality, which is no reality at all. It is all consciousness. And you are able to communicate without tools, but you have created tools to communicate globally in a more like-minded manner. So you are now not just exposed to those who are around you. And this is a very interesting point that we're going to make with this, because humanity emerged as a higher form of consciousness on planet Earth and evolved in that way as a collective consciousness. And you all clustered into villages for safety and commerce and things of this nature. And even though you clustered physically into villages that were very much based on geography, where you evolved physically on your planet, you are all independent strands of consciousness that all come into your lifetime with infinite other realities behind you. And a collective desire for freedom and joy that is expressed very individually in your world. And you found yourselves placed in villages and in groups where you felt very out of place. You didn't belong. Fish out of water. Very common term on your planet. And you've created, via your desire for freedom and joy, a method to find other like-minded thinkers, to find others who are at the level of sophistication of thought where you are, whatever that level is. We are not judging it. And communicate and build a community that is virtual. Here you are doing just that in this interaction. There are people that if you walk outside your dwelling and you knock on the door next door and tell the person next door that you're interacting with one who channels collective consciousness of source, you would likely have the door slammed in your face. All are not ready for this. And that is the beauty of a physical environment, because you are all on your independent journeys. And the not all coming together and agreeing about everything is the magic of a physical environment. Because that disagreement, that contrast, even the struggle, creates the tension that drives new creation, that drives expansion of the universe, and certainly drives expansion of your collective consciousness of humanity and your planet. Even when you turn on your news and do not necessarily see it on the surface level as expansion, you are witnessing expansion. All contrast drives expansion. And where we are guiding you to go with all of this is to live in your physical now, to be less concerned of what may or may not be going on other planets and other realities and other times and other lifetimes, and understand that these little signs that you get, your numbers aligning and your little ones speaking of other existences, these are all little signs from the universe for you that you are ready for, or you would not be comprehending them. You would not be experiencing them. They're your manifestation. And you're receiving these manifestations are your little signs of your own ascension in physical. And your ascension in physical is bringing you to this forefront of understanding of the nature of all physical, and certainly the nature of humanity. But then you take all of those tools and all of that knowledge and you return to your 3D experience and encounter your 3D experience in a much higher vibration because of your understanding, thus appreciation of it. That is why we are flowing this way and sharing this information. It is because you who have manifested a path to these teachings are ready for it. And notice that many of you, most of you, likely all of you, have manifested your path here because you have created great contrast in your lives. And you needed to go to a higher level to figure it out. And you have choices of how you react to these things. And you see some that experience great contrast in their lives and it shuts them down and they exit. You are choosing not to do that. You are choosing to find the answers, to find the why. Why is your world so broken, so damaged? Why is there so much evil? Why is there so much strife? Why is there so much polarity? you are coming around to understand the why. And in your understanding it, can find appreciation for it. And you're finding appreciation for it, detune the transgressor energy of it, thus raising your vibration for even more clarity. This is how the universe operates. It's a self-sustaining, self-regenerating environment. And your planet is a little mirror reflection of that. And you're all part of that while you're expressing yourselves as physical on planet Earth as human beings.
Wow. Beautiful. I'm curious myself about something. I had an interview with somebody recently. And in this interview, they were talking about the I. Like they no longer say I, mine, or me. And one of the things I've noticed, Stream, is that never is there a reference to I, me, or anything like that from yourself. But also, this person was saying that it's important for us to maybe even get to the space where we remove the need for the I, the me, or the mine. And this, if everyone's noticing, not once does this come forward while David is channeling the stream. What do you feel about our connection to the I, to the me, to the mine?
Remember that your words, your language are a human creation. And as all things, they hold the power that you give to them. We are not an I, nor are we a we. We are consciousness. However, we are coming and flowing through David, utilizing his vocabulary, utilizing the English language to communicate with humanity in such a way that you understand. We are able to make a physical level connection with you, which actually brings you back around to your much higher level connection with our energy. You all have your version of this. You all have source consciousness flowing through you. And when you are listening to our words being shared by David, you are experiencing source consciousness. And those of you that allow yourselves to tune into it, understand that on a visceral level. You feel it. You feel it flow through you. You feel it to your core. And there will come a time where you will develop new words that will express more of that which we are. But at this time, you have not yet created that. But you will find some frustration in the I and the we and in some confusion. And through that confusion, develop new language that will allow you to truly comprehend and identify what source consciousness is. And you will move through the period of using tools such as angels and ascended masters and beings on other planets and things of this nature to comprehend that which we are. The reason that humanity has created these beings, and they are your creation because your identity of them is your creation, certainly, but your feeling of them is absolutely real. David has said many times that he feels he has angelic energy around him, that he has protective energy around him. That is real. The word angel and the vision that can conjure of a human-like being with wings, that is a human creation, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's a tool. It's a tool of comprehension. It's a tool of understanding. Just as the language that we are communicating with you in right now is a tool of comprehension and understanding. But the more you all evolve to the space of having this connection and communicating in ways such as this and even beyond that, you will create new terminology. In fact, we have created quite a bit of new terminology, so much so that David's team has created a glossary of the terminology that we use, because there are so many things that we seek to describe for which there are no human words. So we have used words and combinations of words and created new words even, and used certain words in certain ways that are not necessarily mainstream, that are specific to our sharing. So there's a glossary for that, and that will continue to expand.
Thank you. And what that really was a beautiful example, you guys, because this was in reference to your identity, to our identity. And we use that word, I, attached to the ego or the identity, or me. We know, we is just a collective, like we we is it, but it's more that identity. And what I just heard you say is that this is clearly the path to the connection to our own divinity and our own source connection. And so that was clearly beautiful. Thank you. And I didn't even fully uh, mention all that. So I think that was interesting how that the stream just covered everything that was in there. And I even left out the word identity. I forgot all about the I and identity. Thank you, stream. So I'm going to go on to Steve Weber. Wants to know if David, as the source, has this info collectively, or is it streaming in real time?
It is streaming in real time, certainly. The vibration of the interaction is creating the information that is being shared. There are many things, for the sake of consistency and to reduce confusion, that will be shared in very similar ways over and over and over again. But there are also things that will shift and be tweaked based on the interaction, based on the collective vibration, and certainly based on the one who is seeking the information. There are things that you will find in our offerings that will be extremely consistent in terminology used over and over again, and there are things that will be inconsistent. The asking of this question is perfection, in that we wish very much to express that there is no right or wrong. Many of you come seeking right or wrong, yes or no answers from us. There is no right or wrong. The idea of right and wrong, left and right, up and down, black and white, all of these things are examples of polarity of a physical environment. We are not operating in polarity. Humanity, planet Earth, is polarized. Obviously, you have proof of that all around you. You have proof of that in your own being. That there are some days that you are up and you are feeling good and you are trusting and believing and absolutely connected to that which we are. And there are days that you are less than that. And a lot of that down and that low, and we use these terminologies because you understand them and we get our point across. But the judgment of all of that is your judgment of them. We are not judging your vibration. We are not judging your vibrational flow. We are not judging the activities that humanity creates or your planet creates based on the vibrational flow. The things that you view as very awful and evil and demonic and dark and terrible and wrong, we are not judging that way. We are not judging any of it, because it all serves the expansion of humanity, and you are all eternal souls expressing yourselves very temporarily as human beings. So there's nothing going on your planet that is going to end that which you are. It is all offering expansion regardless of how you judge the outcome or the experience of. There's expansion offered in all of it. But those of you that come and manifest more what you consider difficult paths are expressions of consciousness seeking more sophisticated experiences. Because the more difficult experience is a more sophisticated experience that you and your human have to do a little more work to work your way through, or not. And the not working your way through is an expansive experience in and of itself. If you come and have a difficult childhood and choose to exit your physical being one way or another early on, there is value in that experience from your eternal perspective. In your human perspective, you believe that it's very sad and awful and terrible. And there is nothing wrong with you judging that way. Your preference is to have a long, fruitful lifetime. Your preference is freedom and joy. Your preference is to find happiness in every day of your being, because that is how you exist in your eternal state. But it's our promise to you that in your eternal state, you want nothing more than to come back into a physical environment of increasing sophistication, increasing difficulty, if you will, and have the experience all over again, to find a different path in that experience. And you do this eternally. As independent strands or expressions of consciousness expressing as physical, that journey never ends. It becomes more sophisticated. There's new creation created from that experience, which expands the universe. That is the fuel that drives the expansion of the universe. That is the fuel that drives our expansion. We are expansive by nature, but we do not create our expansion. You create our expansion. We are source. We are thought. And when you are up your spiral, you are connected to our thought. You are one with us. And you may consider that at your best. And when you disconnect from us, you go down your spiral, you disconnect from this thought, this consciousness, and you begin running on your ego consciousness. And that creates obstacles, obviously. And running on your ego consciousness creates the obstacles that expand your being and contribute to our expansion. So it is a necessary experience. And we are sharing this with all of you so that you can come to fully appreciate that experience. And in your coming to appreciate it, you can reflect back through your lifetime and appreciate all of the things that you perhaps judge as negative that have occurred in your lifetime, to you and around you. It's all for you. And when you detune your judgment of all of it, you raise your vibration. You allow our consciousness to flow more freely. And allowing our consciousness to flow more freely, you have more intuition. You have more joy. You have more clarity. You have more appreciation for all that is. You have far less judgment. And judging your surroundings less leads to you judging yourselves less. And it becomes this regenerative cycle of more love of self. And there is nothing better than love of self, regardless of how many homes you own, how many airplanes you possess, how many Lamborghinis and yachts and Rolls Royces and experiences. Nothing comes close to love of self. In fact, you very often see those that have all of those things whose love of self is actually tied to all of that, which is not authentic love of self. That's why there's never enough. That's why the richest person in the world was once a few billion, and then 70 billion, and then 150 billion, and will soon be a trillion. And you ask yourselves, when is it enough? Because when love of self is tied to physical possessions, there's never enough. Allow the physical possessions to be the byproduct of love of self, not the reason for. Always, always. Apply that to relationships. Apply that to your physical being. Apply that to what the scales are speaking back to you at this time. Apply that to all of it. Loving yourselves as you are, for the imperfect beings that you are. Because the perfection is in the imperfection, always.
Beautiful. There is one more question, and we have just enough time left, I believe. When we decide to come to the physical, do we come right away, or is there a process that we have to go through?
We will go back to the consciousness is eternal and not operating in linear time. We have spoken in prior engagements, but we have opened Pandora's box with our teachings for many of you in that we are sharing that you are not operating in linear time in your eternal state of being. Therefore, you are in isness, not in linear time. So there's not a time that you are non-physical and then coming back into physical. You are continually part of non-physical and expressing yourself in endless physical environments simultaneously. This is why we guide you to clean up the transgressor energy in your physical lifetime, because you are still in that physical lifetime experience. And as long as you are keeping it alive by your recollection of it, which is very natural for you to do, but when you're keeping alive the negative version of it, that was terrible, that was awful, that was painful, I was abused, I was taken advantage of version, you keep that energy alive and you keep regenerating that in your reality. This is why we guide you away from that. This is why we guide you to find the value in all of that, to detune the transgressor of it. And when you're in non-physical, you are not holding on to any of that negative energy. You are omnipresent and omniscient. You are in all places, all things, all thought, all the time. It's very difficult for you as a human being to comprehend that. And that's okay, because you are here on your little weekend trips as human beings. Enjoy the weekend trip of being the human being, focus there, and understand that a curiosity about what's beyond human is natural. and allowing your curiosity to run amok a bit is natural. But then coming back down to planet Earth and using the tools that you acquire in your curiosity to find more joy in your physical now is where it's at. And understanding that when you are not in physical, you are all things, all times, all places. There is no going there and coming back here. You are there now.
Beautiful. We are on the hour, so I appreciate all of our time with you, or with Source Stream, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Welcome back.
They zipped right out. You zipped right out, Stream. They zipped right out.
That was rad. That was way cool. We're on the hour. Good questions, audience. I love you guys. You rock. Thank you.
Have you noticed? I mean, how long have we been doing this show? Like 3 years?
Yep.
Probably close.
Yeah.
It's getting so much more advanced. I just feel that it's just getting so much more advanced.
Yeah, the questions are definitely.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. You guys were great today, and I want to just let you all know I'm a graduate of Taya Boot Camp, and I've been through the program. It's absolutely fantastic. So here's my plug: do the best thing you've ever done for yourself, and book a session with David right now, right here. Visit thestreamofdavid.com/Taya and book with him. Say that I sent you, please, because you'll get an extra.
I know Debbie G gets my attention. Debbie G.
But really, guys, it's the best thing you could do for yourselves. Just do it. It's not going to, believe me, spending some time with David just in a discovery session is worth it all by itself. So just do it. Okay, that's all I had to say about that.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for the plug for Taya. Look at that.
He got fancy on us.
I didn't mean to.
He got fancy. Streamofdavid.com.
Yeah, I think Debbie's a little better control panel operator than I am. I just show up and go away and let stream come out.
Yeah, I'm going to train you one of these days.
Yeah. So any new interesting nuggets of information from the stream?
Confirmation is what was coming through for me. I thought it was exceptionally interesting that I asked about the I and identity and forgot the word identity, but yet he still covered it. Because David, I had this guy the other day, and he was talking about the fact like I, me, mine, and Stream never says I, never says me, never says mine. We, yeah, because that's we is not in this scenario. Those other words were connected to identity.
Yeah, that's a good point, because they and I haven't experienced a lot of other channels. I know Abraham speaks that way as well. And I think the way they speak is very helpful just for people to really get what they're receiving and just communicate. But there's so many things that they show me, especially when I'm writing in the book, and it's like, holy shit, how am I going to explain that? And when I'm channeling, it usually just flows and it's just magical and amazing. And then every once in a while I hit that little roadblock where it's like, okay, I see what you're showing me, but I have no idea how to explain that. And then I have to just back away from it, like all things go up my spiral, and then it just kind of flows again and it all comes out.
Yeah.
And one thing I think the stream is really good at is explaining things that we think are so complicated and making them not complicated at all.
Yeah, but I haven't, but David, and I love that. But listen, if it's true that the I in identity needs to be removed, then what are we going to do about all these I am statements? Is it the I am being the I am together, like Eam is I am being the name of God in the book of Genesis? They say that that's a high frequency. So the I am that I am as the name of God, so spoken in Genesis, is exactly the way that it's said. Now, if that's true, though, how does this whole I and the identity fit into affirmations? We got to ask.
Everything has the power that you give to it. So if you are giving power to any set of teachings that work for you, then it has the power that you give to it. All of it does. That's why there's no right or wrong. That's why somebody can be absolutely served by being very steeped in organized religion, Christianity.
Right.
People are served by that, certainly. Not everyone, but people are served by that. That's the path that they're on, and that is perfection for them. There are people that are served by being atheists, believing in nothing. You know, there are people that I like very much that are atheists, that believe that we are just organic matter that just came up from, you know, whatever, and we developed this consciousness from nowhere, which is just all seems kind of silly to me, and we just are, and then we're this consciousness, and when we die, that's it, we're gone. That's the end of us.
That sounds like such a lonely existence. And I know I do have people I love too that also are definitely under that category. But you know what? If that's what they want to, I love that. And I love the answer because it's just that simple. And so you guys, that's it. Everything is the intention in which you give it. So I am grateful. We are definitely past our time. So I love you guys. I cannot wait until that you see the new things coming out with Spirituality Gone Wild, as well as David. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be over on Sky TV before he can blink his eyeballs. He just is about to find out how, because I'm going to tell him.
Yeah, no, I love doing this. So anywhere I can do this and reach people that are aligned with this is a lot of fun. I love spending my days doing this in my little studio. Love it.
Well, that's beautiful. I love it. All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Debbie, as always.
Love you guys.